Good morning, everyone. Today is Wednesday morning. It's the 30th of May, 2023. I've entitled this video this morning, Authority. Authority. It's a very interesting subject to me. If we look at those that are in authority in our society, it's a very interesting study. Not only those in authority in government, those in authority in education, those in authority in ministry, leadership, those in authority in the judicial system, in the legislative branch, in the executive branch, in the judicial branch of government. And the Bible has a lot to say about authority as well. In fact, if you do a word study on authority, you'll find that it's mentioned 34 times in the Bible. The Pharisees came to Jesus and said, ask him, by what authority doest thou these things? Who is he that gave thee this authority? Luke 20, verse 2. Matthew 7:29 says he taught them as one having authority, not as the scribes. John 5:27, and he hath given him authority to execute judgment also, because he is the Son of Man. He says in 1 Timothy 2:12, I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence. Titus 2:15, these things speak and exhort and rebuke with all authority, let no man despise thee. Mark 1:22, and they were astonished at his doctrine, for he taught them as one that had authority, and not as the scribes. Luke 9:1, then he called his 12 disciples together and gave them power and authority over all devils and to cure diseases. Luke 4:36, and they were all amazed and spake among themselves, saying, what a word is this? For with authority and power he commandeth the unclean spirits, and they come out. Proverbs 29:2, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. Luke 22:25, and he said unto them, the kings of the Gentiles exercise lordship over them, and they that exercise authority upon them are called benefactors. First Timothy 2:2, for kings and for all that are in authority, that we may lead a quiet and peaceable life in godliness and honesty. Well, the reason I want to talk about this is, there's been a lot said about church leadership and church discipline, and when it's appropriate to excommunicate somebody and treat them as a heathen, and so on and so forth. One of these days we're going to see who's in real authority. 1 Corinthians 15:24, then cometh the end when he shall be delivered to the kingdom of God, even the Father, which shall put down all rule and all authority and power. Revelation 13:2, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and the feet were as the feet of a bear, and the mouth of a lion. The dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. There are some people that have been put into positions of leadership in the church, and that's gone to their head. They're very cocky, and they're like little Pope, ruling because of the power that has been given them by men, not by God. You know, it reminds me of certain people that I've seen that have acted very almost obnoxious. Comes to my mind is different people that I've heard that seem like that what power they have been given has gone to their head, like Kenneth Copeland. Have you ever seen Kenneth Copeland's eyes? That tells you a lot, doesn't it? I remember one time I was in fellowship with a fella, and he kept talking about 13th chapter of Corinthians on charity. Charity, charity, charity. And then he called me up one day and said he didn't want to talk to me anymore. Talking about charity. And one of the principal reasons he didn't want to talk to me anymore is because I said God had a sense of humor. And he didn't like that when I said God had a sense of humor. You know, I think that anyone that looks at God's creation and says that God doesn't have a sense of humor is missing something, you know. What is the animal with all the colored feathers? A peacock. Just think how God created the peacock strutting around showing off her feathers. To me, that God has a sense of humor. And also, look at some of his other creation and how they interact with each other, like the gorillas. And some of the birds, like the, what is that kind of bird, the white bird that shakes its head and talks and starts getting in an argument with its owners. I can't think of the name of it now. Not a parrot, but it's, parrots have, you know, can mimic things and so on. I'm talking today about authority, you know. Some people, you give them a title of a deacon or an elder, or you give them a PhD in biblical studies or a doctorate of divinity degree. All of a sudden it goes to their head, and they act like they know everything. The only one that knows everything is Jesus Christ. He knows all things. And so if you run into people that are abusing their authority, my admonition to you is get away from them. Get away from them, you know. And I've been as guilty as anyone else of, you know, not maintaining a balance in things. And I mean, just the titles that people are willing to take on or attribute to some other people, like president. You know, I'm the president of my company. I have to list that as I have a company, Business Brokers. I'm the president of the limited liability company. Big deal, you know. But some people, they let it go to their head, like when they call them I can't even think of the word, when a person is over a college, you know, master's college, you know, the president of a school, or and it always made me kind of sick to my stomach when people called the reformers the divines. They're not divine. They're human beings just like we are. Why would they call them divines? That's the way a lot of people want to be treated, like they're someone divine. Well, that's what's on my mind this morning. May the good Lord be with you today, and let us think on these things and contemplate and make sure that we maintain a balance in our lives. May the good Lord be with you. God bless.